Sometimes life is not asking you to work harder. It is asking whether you are willing to let it come closer. Beneath the pressure of work, money, screens, and the fear of falling behind, there is a quieter summons that has been there all along. It does not push. It does not rush. It waits for one thing: your yes. That yes does not need to be dramatic. It begins somewhere no one else can see, in the moment you quietly say, "I am willing." Then, abundance may not arrive like a miracle. It may move more like a river finding the sea, quietly, naturally, because the channel is finally open. So why does life still feel so far away? Because modern life teaches us to chase proof. Proof of success, proof of safety, proof that we are chosen. We become so focused on getting that we forget to open the place where anything real has to enter. A person can want love while guarding every vulnerable place. You can want love and still guard every vulnerable place. You can want wealth and still meet opportunity with fear. You can ask the universe for a new life while your body continues to hold the shape of the old one. It becomes a mirage, visible, desired, and impossible to hold. The door may not be locked from the outside. You may still be holding it closed. Welcome back to Momentum Arc, a space for inner exploration and spiritual growth. Your likes, comments, subscriptions, and super thanks help this work travel farther. They may help someone else find the courage to open that same inner door. Osho was an Indian spiritual teacher whose talks reached a global audience. His work often challenged the human habit of seeking freedom through control. In Intimacy, Trusting Oneself and the Other, he explored trust as more than a relationship skill. For him, intimacy begins with the ability to meet yourself without hiding. Before you can truly open to another person, you have to stop treating your own inner life as something dangerous. That idea leads to a simple distinction. Wanting something is not the same as being open to it. You may want more money, yet distrust every uncertain step. You may want love, yet retreat when someone sees you clearly. You may want peace, yet treat every uncomfortable feeling as an enemy that must be removed before you can breathe. Seen through this lens, life responds less to what you demand than to how you meet it. The question is not only, what do I want? It is also, what am I prepared to allow? This becomes very concrete around money. A person may long for abundance while living in constant suspicion of loss. Every bill feels like a warning. Every decision feels like a test. Even a real opportunity can feel unsafe when the body is still prepared for scarcity. Being ready does not require rituals, perfect discipline, or spiritual credentials. It begins when resistance softens enough for an honest yes. That yes does not guarantee a specific result. It changes your relationship with what arrives. You become less likely to miss an opening because fear has already named it danger. Like a river reaching the sea, life does not need to be dragged forward. Sometimes it only needs a clear path through you. What you once chased may then become easier to recognize. The outer world has not become magical. You are simply less divided when life asks you to respond. How do you know whether you are truly open? The first step is often to stop. A low season may bring emptiness, fatigue, or doubt. These feelings do not always mean you have failed. Sometimes they interrupt the momentum that kept you from looking inward. That gap lets you see the distance between your inner life and the life you keep performing. You begin to notice how often achievement, approval, or constant planning has covered your unease. Then a different question becomes possible. Can I let this moment exist without immediately trying to improve it? This is where meditation enters, not as an escape and not as another task to master. It is a return to the breath, the body, and the experience already here. Osho often described meditation as witnessing. Thoughts are allowed to pass like clouds. You do not chase them or force them away. You learn to remain as the open sky. The aim is not an empty mind. It is a less hostile relationship with the mind you have. As this gentle attention grows, inner movement becomes easier to see. You notice anxiety without becoming only anxiety. You feel sadness without turning it into a verdict. The quiet that follows is not excitement or numbness. It is closer to a clear lake after the wind has softened. Readiness begins here. You stop demanding that life feel different before you are willing to be present. You also stop placing happiness entirely in the future. For a moment, you become spacious enough to hold the life already moving through you. Opening yourself does not mean becoming passive or letting other people control your life. It means becoming honest enough to feel what is present. Your will does not disappear. It becomes clearer because less energy is spent fighting yourself. The difficulty is that most of us learned to survive behind some form of inner armor. It was built from rejection, uncertainty, and the fear of being hurt again. At first, that armor may have been necessary. It helped you get through a world that did not always feel safe. But what protects us can also imprison us. One person believes success requires constant exhaustion, so they drive themselves until the body becomes a machine that no longer knows rest. Another expects hostility and stays tense in every room. Someone else controls every detail because uncertainty feels unbearable. These patterns once offered protection. Later, they become the barrier between you and the life you want. They do not look like fear from the inside. They look like common sense. They look like responsibility. They look like being realistic. This is why openness requires strength. You are not dropping every boundary. You are learning which boundaries protect life and which ones only protect fear. The tighter you hold, the less room life has to move. The lock on the heart is often not another person's refusal. It is fear trying to keep you safe. The way through is not another attack on yourself. It is honest, patient attention. Ask what you are protecting. Is the danger here now, or is an old memory speaking? Does this defense still protect you, or has it begun to limit you? A small opening is enough. When judgment softens, even briefly, the heart is no longer completely closed. That narrow space can become the first light of freedom. You do not have to tear the armor away. You only have to notice when it is no longer needed. Then, set down one piece at a time. Spiritual practice does not require leaving ordinary life. It can begin during one breath at your desk or one quiet walk through a crowded street. It can appear when you listen without preparing a defense. It can live inside a sincere smile, a slower response, or a moment of silence before you answer too quickly. The practice is simple, though not always easy. You stop labeling every inner experience as good or bad. You acknowledge what is here before trying to remove it. You might say inwardly, "I see you. I hear you. You are allowed to be here." This kind of inner dialogue may sound simple, but it changes the way life moves through the body. A feeling that is seen does not need to shout as loudly. A fear that is acknowledged does not have to control the whole day. A sadness that is allowed may become softer than the sadness we keep resisting. The danger is turning practice into another achievement. Then meditation becomes a test. You begin asking whether you are calm enough, healed enough, or awakened enough. The search for perfect stillness can become another form of resistance. A living person changes, feels, breathes, and moves. Peace is not the absence of every wave. Anger may still rise. grief may still visit. The difference is that neither feeling has to become an enemy. You can listen without handing it control of your life. Meditation happens when you stop forcing the present into a spiritual ideal. You let the moment unfold without using it to grade yourself. You are no longer chasing a special state. You are learning to remain available to life as it is. This is practice without escape. It happens among deadlines, traffic, family tension, and unfinished work. Ordinary life becomes the place where acceptance is tested and made real. Inner change rarely begins with a vision or a dramatic sign. It usually appears in ordinary moments that would once have passed unnoticed. You make a mistake and do not spend the evening attacking yourself. You feel afraid and do not immediately abandon what matters. You look at someone you love without demanding that they remove your loneliness. As need loosens, warmth changes. It no longer carries a hidden demand. You are no longer always asking life to prove that you are supported. You begin to offer something because there is finally a little more space inside you. These shifts may seem small, yet they show that the inner door is no longer held shut in the same way. You also become easier to reach. Help is less threatening. Opportunity no longer has to arrive in a perfect form before you can recognize it. A conversation can land differently. A morning can feel less heavy. A small wave can reach the shore of the heart. This is a grounded way to understand the universe responding. The world has not suddenly become obedient. You are simply more able to recognize what life is offering. Grace may look less like a miracle descending from the sky. It may look like finally receiving the care, clarity, or chance that fear once pushed away. A single opening can change the direction of a life. Not because it controls the future, because it lets you meet the future differently. Like spring rain, this change may be almost silent. Its proof appears slowly in the choices you make and the relationships that begin to take root. If you are waiting for the right moment to open, that moment may be much closer than you think. You do not need to become fearless first. One honest moment of allowing is enough to begin. Difficulty will still come, but it no longer has to mean that life has withdrawn its care. The universe, in this sense, is not waiting to reward perfection. Life is waiting for your participation. Your yes may be quiet. It may simply mean staying present, trusting one next step, receiving help without apology, or letting one breath pass without turning against yourself. You stop chasing life as though it is always somewhere else. You stop asking the future to prove that you deserve to be here. Then the river begins to move again, not because you forced it, but because you stopped building walls against its current. The yes may begin as relief rather than certainty. It may be the quiet recognition that you no longer need to fight every part of being alive. Say yes to this breath. Say yes to the life already asking to be lived. Say yes, not because you are certain, but because the door was never waiting for a perfect person to open it. It was waiting for the moment you stopped holding it closed. And in the silence that follows, you may hear the gentlest answer, "Welcome back."